Hello, my name is Brian Murnion, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mint Film Festival. Thank you for joining us for this virtual conversation. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Tito's Handmade Vodka, and our major sponsor, Kibler and Kirch. Today we are joined with Max Murr and John, I'm sorry, I can't see your name, Otteson. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Perfect. First time.
From the film Bittersweet. And
yeah.
Thanks guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, Max, I'm going to start with you. You were a film student.
Yes. At the time of this was actually a grad project. So it wasn't John's, but it was mine. And it was an idea we had been cooking for a long time. And it eventually became my official debut and my last student film, I guess.
Okay. John, were you a film student with Max?
Yeah, that's correct. I was in the year below. Although the film school was funny, it kind of split in half, and some people did 2 years and some people stayed on doing 3 years. So I was kind of in Max's class and Max's realm of students for the first year of our student life. And then he wrapped up kind of a year before me, so I still had a year after he finished.
Okay. Were all the crew positions just fellow classmates, or did you go outside of film school for all the production roles?
I would probably say off the top of my head, it's about 60 to 70% students. There were a few roles that we wanted to hire in because I kind of wanted to try out a sort of semi-student, semi-professional environment where there were people kind of, with more experience and things like that, so that the students that were on the project could kind of like mix in with newer people and different faces as well. So people like, for example, the first AD on it, the gaffer on it, obviously all the actors and things like that. There were a few roles that were brought in separate from the film school.
Right on. So Max, you were the director. John, you were a producer. Were those roles pretty clean and you guys just did your portion, or were there overlaps where you guys filled different roles depending on the day?
No, I don't think so. We had our own production office and we were obviously sharing almost all of the time together. So obviously we were able to comment on some bits there and there, but there was no real overlap between our jobs. John is really good at what he does, and I didn't have to worry about anything, obviously. So I think our collaboration was really effective.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It was great because similarly to Max, I kind of didn't need to worry about any of the creative kind of directing aspects. I think maybe once every week or twice a week we had a little meeting just updating each other on how we're getting on overall. So like just the complete scope of how the film is looking, but that was never more than just to make each other like have a safe peace of mind that everything was getting finished and things like that, and everyone was happy with progress and things like that. But ultimately, actually, no, it was quite nice. I think for me at least it was quite nice, and I hope for Max as well, it was nice to have our own roles and be able to just focus on those roles and really do them effectively.
So how did Bittersweet come about? Why this film? Tell me a little bit about that.
This is the official hardest question of them all, because this idea existed in my mind at least for about 3 years. The basic inspiration for it is just a person I met, and that person is basically a direct reflection of our main character, Benedict. Both of them were basically going through the same thing. Obviously, in the film, it's a bit more dramatized. And I was working really closely with our screenwriter, Lorenzo Fedon, and we went through so many versions of the film, so many versions. A version where the main character had to apologize to everybody he had hurt. One, which is the current one where there were thousands of other characters, and I don't even remember. There were so many of them. And in the end, I think it was also thanks to John's help, we ended up with 2 characters, just simple as that. And it became this short, bittersweet film about mental health.
Yeah, the film strikes. I think you guys did just a great job. It strikes this balance between the humor of the situation and some of the characters, but also the somber, sadness, which it makes sense since the guy is contemplating ending his life. That's such a, that's a unique mixture of those two elements. Tell me about your experience of trying to pull those two elements and find a relationship between them in this film.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the hardest parts, because nobody wants to see, or maybe some people do, but in generally nobody wants to see a super dark film about suicide, and nobody wants to leave the cinema or wherever you're watching it sad and thinking, wow, I'm just sad now. So I wanted to make a film that makes the audience think about this topic and maybe reflect on their life, on where they're headed right now, on where they come from, on just reflect on what the life status currently is. The tonally, I had an idea in my mind of where I wanted to go with it and what I wanted to add to it, so that I make sure that there was no pure darkness through it. Especially because, I think in our minds, life is obviously a good balance between light and darkness, the good things and the bad things. And it is true that maybe in this film, the light side of things weigh a bit more, but that's on purpose, because we want to first make the audience feel good. And second of all, we want to maybe shine light on a topic that's always been dark. And I think it's a good thing to maybe add just a tiny bit of light to maybe start a new and fresher conversation.
John, do you have anything to add to just the complexity of those two elements in this film?
I think one thing I would add is that it kind of was what attracted me to the project in the early stages, to be honest with you. I was reading a few different projects at the time from other students who were graduating, and as Max said, they were all they have a tendency to be like gloomy and dark and dramatic, like a lot of short films do. And I always think that from the festival experiences I've had, the ones that I kind of take away from and find myself enjoying with the people around me the most are the ones where I had at least a good time kind of watching it and enjoying it. And I feel like that's had a really, really strong effect on kind of Bittersweet's, like the life of Bittersweet in its festivals, is the fact that it kind of hopefully catches you off guard. It starts looking quite gloomy, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in this kind of front hand, backhand quip between like an old man and a young boy. And so I would say it is like definitely integral for like kind of what the film is. And I do remember like down the road, like a few different people asking us like kind of why, but it was really the film wouldn't work any other way. Its identity is its kind of dark humor and the interesting twist that it plays on kind of, again, as Max said, like the mental health side of things and how it's kind of handled and kind of the reality of the situation, rather than pretending the world is this kind of dark, gloomy place, and that's what's
right. What role, or let me ask you this, are you both glad you went to film school?
Yes, in the end, yeah.
Yeah, in the end, yeah. What was
yeah.
oh, go ahead, John.
Sorry. No, I was going to say that it's interesting because I'm now like a few like weeks away from finishing, right? So I'm like in a different place to Max. I'm like my grad film myself is shooting in mid-October, so it's like very, very close to now. And so these are all questions that are like popping up in my head. Am I glad? And I think that really, like when you're on the other side of it, I don't know how I don't have the same. I'm not in the same position as Max is right now with a year fresh in the industry and things like that. But I think that it's just like an incredible place to like try and fail and try and fail again and things like that, And I remember someone once saying to me that like the best advice I ever got was like, make your mistakes while they're free. And I know that film school isn't necessarily free, but it is just a fantastic, like, kind of free, as in like zero consequence to the stuff that you do, you know. And so it's great to be in a position for like 2 or 3 years, whatever it is, where you can make those mistakes, and it doesn't matter what happens in the end, you learn from it anyway.
Yeah. So Max, you graduated last year?
I did, yeah, last October.
Okay. Can you share, one of your favorite moments from film school that you still just hold with you today, that you just bring to each set or each film that you are working on?
I think definitely the month. I think John already just went through this, which is that we have this module where we shoot an entire feature film in 2 weeks, and we have another 2 weeks to do on the entire pre-production. And I was actually producing it, and I've rarely produced things in my film career, so it was firstly a new challenge for me. And I think as we had a medium budget for a student production, and all the challenges that came with it, I think, made us grow as filmmakers and as people entirely. It was stressful, but it was fun. It was challenging. It was also a challenging script. We had explosions in it. We had weapons in it. Just a student writing a script.
Yeah,
I guess. And we had to deal with all these things, and I think we dealt with them pretty well. So I think that's basically what I'm taking with me to every film set now. It's that kind of real first test of how professional can we be, how things really do work in the film industry.
Right. So in light of this pandemic and dealing with COVID, what are the next, few steps that you're looking to take to get you between now and, this next film that you want to work on?
Well, a lot of work, to be honest, a lot of creative work aside from professional work. For example, in my case, I'm starting work on a series in November as a directing trainee. So that's pretty exciting. So that's what's actually keeping from preparing the next film. Also Bittersweet. There's a lot of attention that we still need to give to the film. So there's many things currently in the works, but also in the way of the works.
Right. And John, so your final film's coming up. Can you share a little bit about that film and what that's about?
Sure. It's kind of the film is kind of like a dystopia kind of family drama sort of thing that we're shooting in an airport down where I'm from in Kent, which is fun. But again, it's kind of I'm kind of taking and learning a lot from which I'm directing, by the way. I'm writing, directing, not producing it. And I'm taking away a lot that I learned kind of from working with Bittersweet, like the fact that, like, it's again mostly two characters and kind of building an interesting relationship around them and finding the kind of integral story that you can tell between two characters, and also like time limit, like keeping it 15 minutes, short, snappy and nice and things like that. So I'm really excited about it. It's obviously like, the next month and a half is going to be a lot of work, but like a lot of exciting work in that. So yeah.
I've heard from John that now in our film school, they are showing Bittersweet as an example of good storytelling. Is that so, or what?
Yeah, we had tutorials in, I want to say April time, when like we had a few online classes. There was, they were, when I was speaking to people, like talking about the script as a writer, like from a writer's angle, and a couple people told me that, that Bittersweet is again like a great example of a short story, keeping it contained, keeping it interesting, not needing to worry about overstuffing it with information, exposition, and creating some sort of like synopsis that's way too extreme to be able to handle and delve into well in 15 minutes. And which, at least in my opinion, I think it is. Max and Rosa did a great job of that, exactly that, containing an awesome kind of interesting story in 15 minutes and not having to do anything over the top with that time or anything like that.
Yeah, when we were watching it, I didn't realize it was a student film at first. It was only until afterwards, and So we were impressed by just the caliber and the professionalism that I think you and your team brought to this narrative. I just want to congratulate you guys on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's down to everyone doing a great job, and not least of all Sam, like the director of photography on it, because at least in my opinion, I think it looks incredible. When you start off by seeing those first few shots, at least I wouldn't have thought it was a student film if I wasn't I wouldn't think it would be something you'd see in the cinema or on TV or anything like that, something that I wouldn't have thought twice about it, really. And when we did have the screenings for school and it was on the big projector in the cinema at the end of the year, it was totally suited it. Do you know what I mean? It suited the environment. So yeah, the people that worked on it did an awesome job at doing that.
Do either of you have any advice for someone who's finishing high school and thinking about film school? What would you want them to know before they take that leap?
I'd say if your dilemma is choosing between film school or not, always go with the film school, especially if it's 2 years or 3 years. What you're actually paying for, from my experience, is the contacts that you'll make from your teachers, your fellow students, all your network, the opportunity that the film school will give you. Personally, that's what's been helping me right now. Move on forward, even with Bittersweet and our festival strategy. And if you can't afford to go to film school, do not worry at all. Make your own films, meet new people in your local events. There are many, even like in small towns, you wouldn't believe it, but there are film events, networking events. So you just have to, I guess, put yourself out there and look for the opportunities yourself.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that. I would say that you have to have I think if you want to go to film school, if you're thinking about going to film school, you need to have a really kind of proper think about whether it's for you before you go there, rather than making kind of like an automatic choice to do it because you feel like it's the next step, I think for me, it totally worked for me and it totally worked for Max. It's kind of was perfect for what we wanted. But I don't think it would be perfect for necessarily everyone. There are people who don't feel like, they work better by being like kind of thrown into the deep end and kind of like hating their first few experiences, which is fine. It kind of, I think you just should sit down, you should talk to people on the phone, like at film schools that you're considering going to. And then also if you manage to get any contacts with anyone in the industry, even if it's just like people at the bottom who decided not to go to film school, talk to them and really just have a think about what they say and really make a kind of informed decision rather than making it automatic. The other thing I would say as well is if you do decide to go, you're paying for it, like in normal university. I always think this in all university anyway, or film school, you're paying, consider that you're paying for it by the hour, divide it up and consider it, and then think about what that money could be spent on, and then why, and make that kind of worth it, the time you're there is really, really unique and interesting. And you should really be emailing anyone that's in the school, making friends with people, getting a little community together, putting yourself out there from day one, and doing different things constantly while you're there, because I guess it's the whole cliche of it's the things you don't do that you regret kind of thing. You should really if you do go, make every second that you're there worth it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's great perspective. And you guys are our first student Q&A session, so I'm excited to hear that this perspective is still taking place. Max, I don't know how to phrase this question, but I want to ask this question to you, just as the director. How do you, holistically speaking, how do films make the world a better place?
Good question. The first thing that came to my mind is whether your film is just super small or super big Hollywood type of film, there's always going to be that one person in the audience, that one singular person, even in an audience of 10 people, that will be affected by it. Right? Maybe it's negatively, maybe it's positively, but they will be affected by it. And whether your film has a strong message or not, I think that message will definitely reach that one person. And it is just that matter of one person to then influence other people or themselves to make a positive change. I know it's a bit of a complex answer, but it's generally, it's only one person you need to motivate, to influence, to change and promote a positive movement.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, thank you for that. In closing, John or Max, do you have anything else you want to add to, the viewers who are watching Bittersweet, or just in general?
I'd say just sit back and relax, enjoy Bittersweet. After watching it, think about what we are trying to say. Think about maybe yourself, your family, the people around you, and let's see if you can maybe take something away from Bittersweet and pay it forward.
Yeah, I think I think exactly that. Enjoy it. If you want to take something kind of big away from it, please do. If you want to just sit down and enjoy yourself for 15 minutes and turn your mind off, hopefully it can do that as well, and you can just enjoy it. And I mean, also again, check out all the films that are shown at this film festival. Do you know what I mean? Look at all of them, because they're all going to be in it for a reason. And if you liked that one, if you liked Bittersweet, then you'll probably like the other ones in this film festival, because it's the same people that selected it. So please, enjoy, check it out. And then if you do like it, then, keep in touch with Max and people like that on Instagram and see where it's going next, and keep showing support.
How do people, if they want to follow you or connect with you, do you have an Instagram or Facebook handle you want to share?
On Facebook, we're just Bittersweet Short Film. We also have a website, bittersweetshortfilm.com. And my own private Instagram handle is Max Mir, M-I-R. And John's is pretty much the same.
Yeah, I usually post updates on the production company, 3 Wheel Entertainment Instagram. So anywhere that the film is being shown will also be on that. So it's at 3 Wheel Entertainment on Instagram for any kind of news, and also if you like future projects and things like that.
Yeah, that's great. John, Max, thank you for your time, and we'll be following on social and seeing what you guys come up with, and I think we're all excited to see what's next.
Thank you. We'll be watching the Mint program.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Take care.
Have a great day.